Hello, fellow truckers, and welcome back to American Truck Simulator. As you can see, we have a relatively boring load today. We are taking a cargo of buttermilk from Sterling, Colorado, down to Garden City, Kansas, and the reason for that is because the nearest other jobs outside of the farm that we just delivered to is Sterling over here, which is 161 miles away to get back to that. So I'm not bobtailing all the way back for that, and I mostly just want to get down into Kansas. So Kansas and Oklahoma and, you know, all this stuff over here that I just recently unlocked. So as much as I would love to get a nice big fat load, we're not going to be able to do that today. So we're just going to take this load into heading down into, I think, Garden, or is it Wichita? I don't remember exactly where it was going. But yeah, that's what we're doing today. This is mostly just a throwaway load to get us repositioned into a place where hopefully we can get a better, higher paying load. I did say in the last episode that I think I might want to put our second garage somewhere in Texas. So if we can get a couple more loads to get us up into the number where we can afford to not only buy a new garage, but also buy a new truck to put in the first spot for that garage. If we can get a couple more loads, get ourselves down into Texas somewhere. I'm not sure where I'd want to go in Texas, but if we can get to that done, then ideally, just as we're getting into Texas, we'll have made enough money to not buy the garage, buy the new truck, and continue on with our plan of getting one of every truck in the game. So that's what we're trying to do right now. Let's get out of here and start getting on the travel part of all of this. Fortunately, that dirt road wasn't so rough that we couldn't get a decent amount of speed coming out of there. All right, off we go. Oh, sorry, guy. And away we go. Cool. So, yeah. I've kind of settled on for now just going ahead and putting the cuts into all of my videos just because it kind of helps, it reduces the overall length of the video, and it removes a lot of the boring silence parts. As I said before, I'm going to have to try to remember that anytime we're stuck at a stoplight or in traffic or something like that, I got to remember to just not talk, so that, because I basically cut out all the parts where I'm not speaking, because it makes it like, that's the most efficient way I can find to kind of, outside of, you know, if anybody knows of a free program I can use that will cut out that, I don't know. Preferably I'd like to have something that has speech recognition, but the way I do my video editing right now is I look at the waveform for the audio on the recordings that I have, and when I'm talking, the decibel levels are much higher than when I'm not talking, even when there's stuff going on in the game. So I basically just cut out everything that is below what is obvious speech as far as the waveform goes. So it seems like it would be relatively easy to just be like, hey, let me set a decibel level threshold and, you know, use that to cut things out. But then sometimes if I'm mumbling like this, it doesn't show up very well. So it's not always the best way. But I don't know, maybe that'll be good because it'll encourage me to not mumble it when not mumble while I'm going off on this stuff. But yeah, like I said, these Babel videos will continue for the foreseeable future just because, you know, I like to try different things to see what... I'm trying to grow a channel here. I'm trying to try out different things to see what you guys respond to more, what gets you guys to watch longer, so that, you know, unfortunately more ads will play. But it is what it is. You know, if you're going to grow a YouTube channel, advertising is part of the experience, unless they get to the point where they just require YouTube memberships, but I don't see that happening. They make way more money off of advertising than they do on anything else, so it's an unfortunate part of the game. If you want access to free content, you're going to pay for it one way or another. It's just kind of the way it is. And as somebody who is providing that content, unfortunately, I got to find ways to get you guys to watch more ads, so sorry. I think we all know it sucks, but it is the way that the system is, and you know, you got to do what you got to do. I got to figure out a way of getting money some way. It's just kind of the way it works. At least I'm honest about it. So we only have 200 miles to go for this trip because there's not really that much going on, which is not a bad length for an episode. You know, 250 miles to get this done is probably going to be around 15 minutes, maybe. depending on if we get stuck in like little small towns and traffic and like a bunch of lights and stuff. But that's okay. With the cuts, it'll probably be less than that because I'm trying to, you know, remove some of the boring stuff. It would be nice if I had more things to talk about, but I'm never able to, like, because I keep myself so busy, I never just sit down and be like, what can I talk about during the episode today? We'll just drive, and as things pop into my head, I'll talk about them, and if they don't, then I'll just comment on the driving that we're doing, and hopefully that's interesting enough. We're hopping into a town here, one of those aforementioned things where, you know, it's going to slow things down and make things take a little bit longer. Burlington, I would imagine we're still in Colorado. I don't recall having seen a... Oh, speed went down to 30. I didn't notice that. I don't recall having seen a sign where we switched into Kansas yet, so... Right turn. This is going to be another one of those things where I might have to stop talking for a second to cut past all this traffic. All right, I think there might be an AI bug where he's not going to... Oh, is he going to... Are they going to go? All right, I wasn't sure. I thought there might have been an AI bug where they were confused because there's traffic, oncoming traffic. There is a gap, but... So that the AI does seem to work somewhat logically. All of these guys are making left turns, of course, so I'm going to have to wait for that, but yeah. All right, I'm just pulling out and around because the traffic going around all that stuff is just pretty asinine, and we just need to get up here and make the left turn. So I'm going to go ahead and just pull around the traffic because they're all waiting to make that left turn. And the AI gets a little bit confused. In real life, people wouldn't just sit there when there's space for them to get through. So I make some I don't want to say compromises. I take advantage of some of the systems available to me. Let me put it that way. I don't want to say make some compromises because it's not a compromise. It's an advantage for me. I take advantage of some of the options available to me in the game just to kind of remove some of the more asinine things that we have to deal with. One of them is just the fact that, you know, I recognize the fact that AI in video games isn't exactly the most realistic in the world. So in real life, traffic would not just sit there. They would figure out ways to get around because people have places to be. And then I have traffic violations turned off just because there's a few situations where you get unfairly charged for things. Like specifically right turns on red, which here in America we're allowed to do. If you don't do the right turn on red just right, sometimes it will fine you. And I'm like, oh, I'm not paying fines for things I didn't do. I do try to follow traffic laws as best I can. I also don't like it when cars end up crashing into me because, you know, sometimes things just happen. And because there's no evaluation of things like there would be in the real world where, you know, insurance would do a claim and they'd investigate and find out who's at fault. If there's a crash, if there's any kind of crash at all, whether it's your fault or not, you end up paying for it. And it's like, no, we're not doing that. So I have traffic violations turned off just because it makes life a little bit, oh, that was my fault. That one was my fault. I was too busy looking to the left and checking out my mirror. I didn't notice him. The color of the truck just kind of got me. I don't know. That was definitely my fault. I'm not shirking responsibility for that. That would have been a crash, and that would have been my fault. But, you know, it happens. So, yeah, I have traffic violations turned off. I have fatigue turned off just because I want to be able to control what time of day that I'm driving because, you know, driving at night, especially when you're trying to do recordings, is not exactly the most fun thing in the world. I want you guys to be able to see the terrain and stuff as we're driving. So, I have fatigue turned off. And then I also just turned off realistic fuel consumption and the air brakes and all that stuff because it's just, you know, why deal with the pains of all that stuff if you don't need to? We're mostly just here trying to enjoy the trucking experience, not necessarily try to have hardcore realism. I like simulators, but I'm not necessarily into let's make it as realistic and difficult as possible. Like, no, I'm just here to enjoy the experience of it. I'm not necessarily trying to like live the life. You know what I mean? Like, nah, we're good. We're good. We're gonna take all the parts of the experience that we like and remove all of the parts of the experience that kind of suck. I'm gonna move over here because I don't know what's going on and I don't want to hit somebody. Oh yeah, okay, nice little collision up here. This guy was kind enough to get out of our way before we had to slow down too much, so that's good. Let's get our cruise control back up to 75 and hopefully these guys will get out of our way and we'll be able to continue. Look at that, a triple trailer. Hopefully we'll be getting into those in the, you know, reasonably near future. A single trailer like this one isn't exactly the most interesting thing in the world. You know, you see these all the time. But if we can get into like the double and triple trailers here in the relative, I mean, I think we've done 1 or 2 of those of the double trailers. I'd like to do a triple trailer. Those are fun. Or some of the bigger loads, like the bigger. Look at this guy. Thanks a lot, dude. Get out of the way. I like to do some of the bigger loads, like the ones where you have like the Jeep and the trucks or whatever it is, the really big loads. Those are pretty cool. Maneuvering those around in like towns and stuff is kind of interesting. But it's not as difficult as you think it would be, because the fact that it has a bunch of articulation in it makes it so that the cheating, as they say in the trucking industry, isn't nearly as bad as it would be if you just had one long trailer holding all of that. So because the load bearing structures are all broken up into different little sections that all articulate on their own, it's much more maneuverable than you think it would be. A nice big freaking tractor tire lawn of our yard over there, and that's kind of cool. Would have been I got to get back in the habit of, because I was in the habit of trying to make sure that I did external views when we pass stuff like that, but now that I'm trying to like talk all the time, it kind of distracts me a little bit. So I gotta start training my brain to do the external shots so that you guys get those as well. Oh, look, like right now is a good opportunity for that, because we have a nice train passing underneath us. Look at that. All right, so we're supposed to be exiting here, so I can't stay on that for too long. So we're exiting the freeway here. Looks like we're getting on a highway, and we still have about 100 miles to go. But in this game, 100 miles is nothing, so it's not that big of a deal. We are going to get some nighttime in here, but
Take the next right.
Not necessarily the most horrible thing in the world, because it'll get us to the point to where when we drop off our load, we'll be late enough in the night that when I rest, we'll be able to start in the morning for tomorrow's episode. So yeah, let's go ahead and get our speed set to 55, and then we'll follow the road down towards our destination and get this load dropped off. Drops down to 40 here, and there's a railroad crossing. I'm really always like real super nervous going over railroad crossings like this, because unfortunately the way they decided to do railroad crossings in this game is that they didn't make it so that there's an invisible barrier that pops up that makes it so that you can't go through the crossing when there's a train actively going through it. The problem is that they activate that invisible barrier a fair bit before the gates come down. So if you're not paying attention, if you're not like hyper paying attention, then sorry, I'm trying to make sure I don't hit anything. You're gonna let me go? All right, cool. So more than once I've slammed into that invisible barrier because, you know, I think kind of like as soon as the lights turn on, the barrier comes up, and if you're going too fast, you're not even gonna notice that the lights turned on, and then you end up slamming into it. Like more than once over in Euro Truck Simulator, I slammed into the same barrier because I didn't realize that's what was happening. I just kept slamming into it. I was like, what's going on here? And then I finally sat and waited for a second and realized, oh, there's a train coming. So they really need to make it so that the invisible barrier doesn't pop up until the gates visibly start moving, right? Like the lights turn on, and then the barrier starts to move, and then somewhere during that process, then the invisible barrier pops up. So that way you have some kind of a reasonable visual indicator before the barrier appears that it's coming, and you don't end up slamming into it like that. Because even if you're doing speed limits and following the rules and stuff like that, you know, sometimes you just don't notice. Sometimes you're not paying, you don't hear the train. Like if you don't hear the train off in the distance coming, then you're relying on that signal to start blinking at you, and then you're relying on the gates to start coming down to let you know, okay, well now we really have to stop. So because like nobody wants to have to stop at a train crossing. Nobody wants to do that. Everybody's going to try to get through it, even if they're following the rules. They're going to try to get past it before the freaking barrier goes down, right? So, you know, just make it so that we can do that, and then when the barrier starts coming down, then activate your little cutoff there. You know, I think the cutoff is probably reasonable to prevent certain kinds of collisions and things. That's fine, but you know, make it so that we don't crash into an invisible wall. I think that's reasonable. Okay. So we've only got we got less than 60 miles to go. The fog here is pretty intense, though, so we're going to have to be super careful to stay in between the lines, and then hopefully nobody is going to just sit on the road in front of us, because by the time we see them, well, I mean, I guess the lights will be on now, so that'll be helpful, but by the time we see them, we're not going to have enough distance in front of us to stop, not at 65 miles an hour, so seems like the fog is clearing. I don't know if it's clearing or if the elevation just went high enough that we got out of it for a minute, because I think, is it picking back up? I don't know, I can't tell. Again, I really don't like driving at night. I covered why in a previous episode, so if you're interested in that, be sure to go back and check out the series before this. But yeah, my night vision isn't the best. Not anymore. I mean, I don't know. I have pretty good night vision when there's no, like, in like dim conditions. My night vision is just really screwed up when it comes to artificial lighting. That's where my night vision is really screwed up. But I actually have really good night vision when it's dark. I've always had pretty good night vision when it's dark. Unfortunately, there aren't very many options for external lighting in this game like there is in Euro Truck Simulator. Like in Euro Truck Simulator, you can have a million lights on the front of your truck, and when you turn them on, it looks like daylight in front of you. In American Truck Simulator, it's not the same thing. It's not the same case. It's not the same. Yeah, it's not the same thing. I don't remember if I have any lights on this truck. Probably gonna have to check that out. But again, I prefer not to drive at night if I can avoid it anyway. So, you know, if I can get out of it, I try to get out of it. So like right now, you know, the last little bit of this is going to be at night. We're going to drop off our load, and then I'm going to go find a place to park and sleep for the night so that we can get back into daytime again, because that's really where I want to be. 9 miles to go, and we can see some stuff coming up in the distance there. Unfortunately, as much as I would love to be able to stop here and sleep, as a matter of fact, hold on, what time is it? We have 6, now if we go to sleep right now, we will have gone past what the job allows for, so I guess we're going to get on the highway here. That's Garden City. But at 4 miles, that means that we're not going to be heading to a new city, which means I'm going to have to drive back over here to get to the parking, which kind of sucks, but, you know, it is what it is. I missed the fact that the speed limit changed, so oops. Hopefully there'll be hopefully there'll be somewhere to park over here by the drop-off for the load. Got a little aggressive. I got a little careless with that turn. Oops. All right, let's get up the hill here and around the highway. I'm curious. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is an interstate, so let's see what interstate this is. Or is it a highway? No, it's a highway. Highway 83 and Highway 50. So, just got to get behind this guy here. Oh, and a turn signal would be nice. A turn signal would be nice. I didn't see any kind of turn signal there. Maybe you guys did, but I didn't see any kind of turn signal. That's annoying. All right, Garden City, Dodge City, exit half a mile. Really hoping, I'm not seeing any parking spots over here. It means I'm probably gonna have to drive all the way back over to that area back over there. The part that sucks about it is just the fact that, you know, it's already almost 10 o'clock right now. We're gonna get the load dropped off, and then I gotta drive all, oh, there's a slide over there. That's cool. And then I have to drive all the way back over there, which is going to eat up even more time, so that when I take the 10-hour break that it's going to force me to take when I rest, it's going to push it even further into the next day, which means we'll have less daylight. So that's the part that sucks. It isn't just that I have to drive all the way back over there because I have to drive all the way back over there. It's the time that it's going to eat up doing that. Which, you know, I guess is a real trucker thing that you have to live with. But again, this is a simulator. And simulators are supposed to offer a range of options that allow you to avoid as much of the unpleasantness of the real world equivalent as possible. So it'd be nice if we had the ability to rest to a specific time, especially for those of us who turn off fatigue. All right, so we have reached our destination. I can see blinking on the other side of the truck over here, which, oh, no, it's on this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull in so I can do so I don't have to blindside this. I'm just going to turn around. And then we'll be able to see what we're doing when we back into this. So let me pull up here, get the trailer kind of facing the right direction, sorry. Oh, helps to put it in reverse, huh? Kind of hard to reverse your trailer in when you're not in reverse. Okay, slow down a little bit because we're getting a little too aggressive there. All right, so it looks like we're going to be good here. Oops. think I hit that other truck. Try to get this backed up a little bit better. Come on. Man, my backing skills are rusty. Alright, should be able to get it this time. Alright, so that's going to go ahead and do it for today's episode. Hopefully you guys had lots of fun. Be sure to click the like button, subscribe to help us reach 10,000 subscribers. Join as a member for early access to videos, among other perks. Or you can just leave YouTube's version of a tip with the thanks button. Also have PayPal and Patreon links in the description. For those of you who prefer to go outside of the YouTube economy to help out with channels, so those are there for your convenience. So again, oh, that's why. Or did I move him like that? I might have hit him and moved him. So again, anyways, thank you very much for watching. Be sure to come back for the next load, and I'll see you then.